Hey, what is up guys? It's me, your boy MET HD, coming to you live in crispy 1080p, and I'm gonna give you guys my video that hopefully lasts me a good while, but again, I'll try to get you guys a new video next week. So with that being said guys, I want to give you guys the pros and cons of my use with the iPhone XS Max that just came out about a week ago, and I don't want to make a review because a lot of people will probably do that. I want to give you guys my first-hand experience of things that I've noticed with the phone that maybe you won't find in a review. So with that being said guys, let's get right into it. Alright guys, so obviously the first pro in my opinion is going to be that the Face ID, and what I mean more particular is that I found the Face ID to be not only quick and effective, but I actually found it to be useful in low light settings. Now obviously if you go to use it in a very dark room, it's not going to work, but in decent low light settings the phone will generally pick you up even if you wear glasses or a hat. For me, it generally did pick me up, so I found it to be super useful. And I guess perhaps one aspect that maybe I wish we had was a fingerprint reader where the Apple logo is. I feel like that would be very useful, but then where do you put the Apple logo? Currently I found the Face ID to actually be pretty useful, and if I were to switch to another phone, it's something that I definitely would miss having. Alright guys, so another aspect to really consider that I found to be super useful is that the camera setting is actually very good. And basically what I mean by that is it's very comparable to the other high-end phones, so the Pixel, the Notes, the S9s and so forth. iPhone, again, you never expect iPhone to have a lackluster camera, but it's very good. And I'll show some pictures I took in low light settings and a very cool bokeh effect that iPhone provides you. So they're just little things that kind of make it useful and fun to use the camera. So I think that's another aspect that I did enjoy. But overall the camera I found to be very good, if not great. And yeah, we finally have a very comparable camera that's, I guess, relative to others in the market. For other phones, I guess not many providers out there give you surround sound or dual speakers, and Apple's been doing that, one from the earpiece and then one from the bottom speakers. Now, not only are they very loud, but I found them to be actually very immersive. So if you're watching any type of video, you usually feel like you're there, or as opposed to other phones that don't have this feature. This is very useful because it just makes you enjoy the phone more. And now lastly, another pro that I found was that the water resistance was bumped up to 2 meters now. This isn't significantly important because not many people will take their phones down 2 meters anyways. Alright guys, so let me get into my list of cons. Now it's not many, but I think there's kind of big points that sway you to not buy this phone in the future. And the first one is going to be that yes, this is a big phone. You generally have to use it with two hands, and I mean generally because I have big hands, as you can see. Like, I can kind of cover this phone, but in reality I struggle sometimes with just using this with one hand, and more or less because you don't have much area to grip on because it's actually a thin and rounded phone, so your thumb can kind of lean over and touch the screen, and then it just gets very annoying, and then you realize, yeah, it's much easier with two hands. So my point is, if you have small hands, it's almost impossible to use this with one hand. So that's just something to consider. Perhaps if you really want a one-hand usability phone, then the XS just regular would probably be your best bet. Or if you do get the XS Max, just really consider that it is a decently sized phone and will generally require two hands. Now another con in my opinion is going to be that iPhone still does not provide us a split screen option, and I think this is kind of surprising to me because you have to really consider, all right, iPhone is finally giving us a big screen, well, what can we do with it now? So the fact that that's not even an option at the moment, where it couldn't be in the future with the simple iOS update, but currently as it stands we don't have a split screen option. So that's kind of something that kind of took me aback, and why I wasn't sure why they wouldn't do it in the first place. It's kind of find more use of the phone. So that's another con in my opinion that iPhone and Apple in general will probably find out how to improve and kind of provide it, but currently as it stands, I have to knock it some points because it's not an option. Now, another thing that a lot of people will consider when looking at these phones is the price. Now, I think the best way to look at it is, yes, it's a super expensive phone at $1,100 starting, just for 64 gigs. But with all things considered, I think the best way to look at it, and kind of, I'm not trying to justify Apple's point, but I see why they would do it. And that is, Apple is a big marketable brand. And I'll give you a simple comparison. You can have a good leather quality bag with no brand on it, and it could cost you $300-400. You put a Louis Vuitton badge on there or a Hermes badge, and now we're over $1,000. And it doesn't necessarily say that the quality is better, which it probably is in some aspect, but it's not miles and miles better that you'll say, wow, this is significantly worth the money. It's more of a brand kind of using their power to show you, you want this product, we'll pay for it. So I think that's really what Apple is doing here. It's not necessarily showing the true value of the phone, where I still think this is a $900 phone, perhaps $800, maybe even $1,000 if you really provided a lot of memory with it. But that's just Apple being Apple and kind of doing their thing of using their brand as really the big power here. You want a big phone, you want it to be an Apple product, well, pay the premium. So I think that's really how they looked at it when they gave you the price point to begin with. So another con, in my opinion, and something that I haven't fully understood, is that Apple does not provide you a fast charger from the get-go. So my thing is, why give you the option to fast charge, but I can't even do it out of the box? It doesn't make any sense to me. Samsung has been doing this for a while. I really don't understand how Apple hasn't caught up. And especially if you're paying such a big price point, I don't see why you wouldn't do it anyways. It wouldn't cost you that much more, and just kind of provide it from the get-go. And another thing to consider is Samsung will, if you do a pre-order on their phone or a Black Friday sale, they'll generally look to provide you with maybe a wireless charger, for example, or a speaker or something. Apple, I doubt they'll ever do that. Now, lastly, another con in my opinion is that the price point for the XS Max and the XS is $100, and more or less that's based on the screen increase, the size. But when you look at the specs, the XS Max will provide you with 1080p 60 frames per second on the front camera, but that's about it. Other than that, the specs are all the same. You're getting the same exact phone, and it's just hard for me to understand why Apple would do that. If they really want to sell their XS Max and kind of differentiate it from the XS, maybe an increase in some spec that kind of shows you the value that the premium value that you're getting. Whereas most people that really, again, if you really want to use your phone with one hand and so forth, or you really just don't care about the screen size, then you miss out on those customers. Whereas if I say, okay, here's a premium product, I'm gonna make it a bump up in some specs, and that kind of maybe another like how they used to do with the 7 and the 7 Plus and the 8 and the 8 Plus, where you get, for example, dual cameras on the bigger phone. Just something to kind of show you, okay, I'm getting something significantly better, and understandably I'm gonna pay the premium price. So that's just something to really consider if you really want the phone to begin with. All right, guys, so that's the list of my pros and cons of the iPhone XS Max. Again, just kind of my take on the phone that I've been using for the last week, and kind of things that I've noticed that I've enjoyed and disliked altogether. Not a review because you can find that elsewhere, but kind of a first-hand experience of using the phone and what I think. So if you guys enjoyed this video, if you found something interesting or useful, leave a like down below. If you have any questions, put it down below. I'll try to answer it. I'm usually pretty busy, but I'll try to get back to you guys, and hopefully I can have a video within the next week or couple months. So with that being said, guys, again, thank you so much for watching. Before I end this video, I just want to give a huge shout out to a good friend of mine, Josh, who helped make this video possible. He was the guy that was in the video and the guy that helped me edit this video, so huge thanks. I'll leave his description down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.